The year is 1401, and the city of Damascus is under siege by Timur, history's most successful warlord. A man whose hobbies included conquest and building towers out of heads. The city is doomed, and everybody knows it. So the defenders take their most precious asset, a 70-year-old history professor, put him in a basket, and lower him over the wall on ropes.
And this is real, by the way. It's in his autobiography. The old man is Ibn Khaldun, and he has spent 50 years on one question. Why do rich, walled, civilized empires keep getting flattened by guys from the middle of nowhere? He thinks he's cracked it. And the answer to his life's work is sitting in a tent at the bottom of the rope. We'll come back to the basket. First, we need to talk about sheep, taxes, and the longest wall ever built. And since this is a world building channel, we're playing a game today. After every theory, we ask what one good spell would do to it. Congratulations! You have been hired as a tax assessor for the Han dynasty. Your job? Taxes. Your problem? Nomads. Back home, your job is easy, because back home, wealth is wheat. And wheat is the best thing that ever happened to governments. It ripens on a schedule so you know when to show up. It grows in fields which famously do not move, so you know where to show up. And it stores for years. So whatever you collect can sit in a big government pile until it becomes soldiers. From a tax collector's point of view, a wheat field is the ultimate resource for spreadsheets. Now, right north. Past the last farm, the land gets too dry for crops and turns into grass. Just grass, to the horizon, forever. Out here, people don't grow food, they walk it around. The wealth of the steppe is sheep, goats, and horses. When you can find a camp and start counting, you discover an annoying properties animals have. Legs. Come back tomorrow to finish the audit and the entire tax base has walked 40 kilometers in whatever direction they felt like. Fine, says the court. Forget taxing them, conquer them. And China tries repeatedly and wins, which is the weird part. The armies march out, the battles go fine, and then, now what? There's no farmland to take, no granaries, just grass, which humans can't eat. Meanwhile, every fort you plant out there has to be supplied by ox cart from the grainlands. And the ox paradox ruins your cargo on the way. You might think you have gained a new province, but in reality you have acquired a really expensive back lawn. A scholar named Owen Lattimore, who crossed these routes himself by camel in the 1920s, summed up 2,000 years of frustration. The steppe isn't hard to conquer, it's pointless to hold, which gives us a new way to look at the Wall of China. 13,000 miles, biggest thing humans built before the modern age. And he says its real job is accounting. The wall marks the line where the empire stops being profitable. On one side, everything can be counted, and on the other side, everything can walk away. We can throw some magic in here to test the waters. Everything the assessor just suffered rests on a single fact. You cannot track a herd. So you hand him a scrying ledger. Every animal branded with a spell, a dot on the map, back in the capital. The herds can still run, but they can't hide. The steppe now becomes countable, and countable becomes taxable. Does some fancy paperwork end 5,000 years of nomad freedom? Or point the same magic the other way? Give the world conjured bread and flying mounts, and ask, why is a farmer taxable? Because he's stuck to his field, but unstick him and every peasant in the empire is a potential nomad now. If you are in the beginning stages of your map, it might be worth asking the question what magic can do to these properties. What can magic track? What can magic carry? Because that quietly decides where states can exist at all. Some of you have been shouting at the screen since minute 2. No states on the steppe? The Mongols, hello? Largest empire in history? Came from the exact grass you're talking about? Yes, and the explanation is hiding in the timeline. Steppe empires don't appear randomly. They appear next to rich farming empires, right after those empires unify. Around 209 BC, China fuses into one giant grain state for the first time. And within a few years, on the far side of the wall, a leader named Modu welled the feuding clans into the Xiongnu, the first great Steppe Empire. And that is not a coincidence. A clan can rob a village, but to shake down an empire, you need to be empire-sized yourself. Because the Steppe Empire is a very weird empire. It has no fields, no granaries, no census. Its income is the neighbor. The Han called the arrangement peace and kinship. And it worked like this. China ships out silk by the 1,000 bolt load, plus gold, and actual princesses. Officially, it means gifts between friends. Functionally, it means a subscription fee for not being raided. And when payments lapsed, raids resumed. Trading and raiding out here are basically the same thing. So the horde isn't the empire's enemy exactly, it's the empire's shadow, sized to match it, fed by its surplus. And when China collapses into civil war, the confederations dissolve too, within a generation. There's nothing left to squeeze and nothing holding the clans together anymore. Let's throw some more magic in there. What does the horde actually collect? It's not food, they feed themselves. It's the stuff cities make and grass cannot. Silk, iron, luxury. Infuse some of it with magic. Enchanted steel, healing draughts, bound fire spirits. Whatever your city exports is what the horde exists to tax. Now imagine having teleportation circles for a minute. What kind of things would they be able to do? Drop some suggestions in the comments. Which leaves the scary question. Why do the nomads win? They are outnumbered, sometimes 50-1. They have no walls, no treasury, no siege engineers, and 2,000 years of winning anyway. A steppe kid learns to ride around the time he learns to walk, and grows up into a mounted archer with an abundance of horses available to him for free. The empire, meanwhile, has to breed war horses on land that could be growing food, and train riders for years at staggering costs. One side's military budget is zero, and it buys the best army on earth. But even Khaldun knew horses weren't the real answer, because he had watched mountain tribes do the same thing to rich cities on foot. And Khaldun had data. Born in Tunis in 1332, orphaned at 17 by the Black Death, then a career politician passed between North African courts like a cursed heirloom. He got hired, jailed, exiled, rehired. He watched dynasties die professionally. His masterwork, the Mukaddima, names the real weapon. Asabiya roughly translates to group feeling, cohesion. And here's the machine that produces it. Hardship. Out in the margins, survival is a team sport. Everyone herds, everyone fights, and there is no wall to hide behind. Loyalty stops being a virtue and becomes necessary. The desert is a factory, and its product is trust. The city manufactures the opposite. Wealth, walls, specialists, and therefore factions. The merchants would honestly rather pay the invaders. The mercenaries are loyal to their paychecks. The nobles start hedging before the enemy is even visible. So when tribe meets city, it is one organism versus a committee. And I would bet on the organism. That's what the old man knew, going down the wall by rope. The man in the tent below maybe looked like a mindless barbarian to outsiders, but he really wasn't. Ibn and Timur, in the West we call him Tamerlane, talked for weeks, drinking tea, speaking about geography, the history of North Africa, a theorist of conquest interviewing conquest in person, while Damascus burned behind them. Let's see what magic does to the organism. Asabiya is the nomad's monopoly for exactly one reason. Cities do not manufacture trust. But what if magic can? Give a city mind-linked legions, or an oath sacrament that turns 10,000 strangers into brothers. And the city now has the tribe's cohesion plus its walls, numbers, and money. On that map, the margin probably never wins again. Let me know your take on that. A good rule of thumb here is that once solidarity is castable, treated as a technology. Whoever has the better version has the upper hand. But Khaldun's famous discovery has nothing to do why tribes win. It's the timer that starts the moment they do. Generation 1 takes the city and still lives like the desert. They remember being hungry and they would die for each other, because until recently that was the actual plan. Generation 2 grows up in the palace, but gets raised by Generation 1. The cohesion survives as stories and habit. Generation 3 inherits silk, taxes, poetry. The hardship that manufactured the original loyalty is gone. Brothers in arms become rivals at court, and the army becomes an expense. And out on the margin, the desert factory is already stamping out a new tribe. They're looking at your city. Khaldun watched this loop run personally. The Almoravids, veiled camel nomads who exploded out of the Sahara and ruled from Spain to Senegal. 2 generations later, their heirs are hosting garden parties in Andalusia, and they get flattened by the Almohads, fresh from the Atlas Mountains, who then soften and get flattened themselves, right on schedule. He clocked a full cycle at about a century. Dynasties, he wrote, have lifespans, like people. The city is permanent, management is temporary. Quick caveat before the comment section goes wild. This is a model, not a law. Rome stayed soft and scary for centuries. The Ottomans hacked the cycle and ran for 600 years, mostly by building institutions to do what Cohesion once did for free. Treat the clock as a pressure instead of a prophecy. And if you throw in magic, the cycle raises some questions. The clocks that starts ticking seemingly runs on growing soft. But what really is behind it is mortality. Generation 3 forgets the hunger because Generation 1 dies. So immortality, or very long lifespans, stop the clock. An elven Khan, an undying emperor, a lich, a conqueror who never reaches Generation 3 for 1,000 years. Which gives you another world-building rule for free. Long-lived races should not have human-shaped histories. Humans cycle. Margin, conquest, decadence, collapse, repeat. Elves get one very long dynasty, maybe forever, still run by the hand that won the first battle. So ask your setting a single question. How long do the founders live? Every peasant revolt that ever waited for a third soft generation depends on that answer. Zoom all the way out and put this and the last video on one map. Dry land runs 2 machines. Add a river and it's a cage. The farmers cannot leave and whoever holds the water holds them. Subtract the river and it's something else entirely. Mobility, hardship, trust. The same desert built the pharaoh and the horde that eventually devoured him. And the wall between them was never really a wall. Treat it more as a membrane. Silk out, horses in. Brides, smugglers, deserters. And every century or so, an entire dynasty passes through, trades the grass for a throne, and starts Khaldun's clock ticking on itself. The Mongols conquered China and became a dynasty. The last magic test. This is a nuclear one. This entire 2-episode system stands on one premise. Nobody can water the desert. So what if somebody can? Weatherworking, terraforming rites, a druid circle with opinions. Green the desert and both machines die at once. The cage opens because farmers are no longer chained to one river. The forge of the desert goes out because the margin stops being harsh and stops producing trust. One ritual deletes the pharaoh and the Khan. So think really hard about having magic like that in your world. It has really big implications on how human societies organize themselves. And remember the assessor? He never did manage to tax the steppe. The steppe came south and taxed him. Worksheet time, as always. Download it on my website or on my Discord. It's free. 5 dials. And notice that every single one is now a magic question. 1. Trackability. What can the state count and what can walk away? And does any spell change that? 2. the neighbor. Who is the rich empire your horde is sized against? And which of its goods, mundane or magical, is the tribute? 3. Cohesion. Who can manufacture trust in your world? Hardship, gods, oaths, mindlings. Whoever casts solidarity wins. 4. The clock. How long do your founders live? Mortals, cycles. Institutions stretch, and immortals freeze. 5. The membrane. What crosses between cage and grass? And can anyone green the desert? Because if they can, everything in these 2 episodes is one druid away from being irrelevant. Alright, that's it for today. Have a great one.